Welcome to the Beer and Bulldogs. We're here to celebrate the American Pit Bull Terrier through history, responsible ownership, and appreciation. All discussions are for legal, ethical, historical, and educational purposes. No illegal activities ever. We stand firmly against animal cruelty and dogfighting, both of which violate the Animal Welfare Act of 1976. Let's keep it positive and give these amazing dogs the respect they deserve. Cheers!
About to go down, so who's gonna be my dogs? Cause I'm about to break some laws. I ain't supposed to get in any trouble again. If I do, they gonna put me back in the pen. But you like to dodge my calls, so I'm about to break your jaw. I ain't scared of doing time, it ain't even on my mind at all. So who's gonna feed my dog?
Welcome to Beer and Bulldogs. I'm your host, Calypso, and this is the show where we talk about the Gamebred American Pit Bull Terrier, working breeds, and all things Bulldogs. Over a cold one, of course. And today, we got a very special guest for you. This man is not new to the dogs. By a long shot, he's not. And he's at all the shows. If you go on any of his social media, he's always sharing good information for a lot of people out there. You know what? Let's just go ahead and get into it. We got Arrowhead from Arrowhead Kennels. Arrowhead, how's it going, man? How you doing today?
Oh, man, I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing real well, man. Just getting ready to get back into some shows. I've been kind of off for a little while. My son was sick, and he's my editor, and he helps me out with a lot of the show stuff and the filming and things. So, but
awesome.
It's good to be back and have you on the show today.
Shoot, man. Glad to be here, man.
Man, I really like your background in there. I see you got Jeep.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites, man. Being from Georgia, we love our Jeep.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I like Jeep too, man. I like him too. He's a little. That's a nice picture back there. That's the real picture. I almost thought it was the drawing back there. That's the real deal.
Yeah. I won that at a raffle at one of the dog shows.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, Arrowhead, I got some questions for you.
All right. Well, I'm ready, man.
Okay. Well, let's start off with, when did you get your first American Pit Bull Terrier, and how old were you?
Okay. Well, I guess it was around 1998. I was right out of high school. Yeah, I went to a guy's house, and he was going to show us his dogs, and that was my first time ever seeing an American Pit Bull Terrier. He had two of them, and man, I thought they were the coolest dogs I'd ever saw, man. They were jumping on top of the dog houses, and man, they were just, I was used to having like German Shepherds and Rottweilers. So when I saw the, smaller dogs, and man, I just thought, man, they were awesome. So shoot, it probably wasn't a couple weeks later I had bought my own.
Oh, okay. Man, so
yeah.
You said you had German Shepherds and Rottweilers, which are both great dogs, man. They're both great dogs.
Right.
So, like, what made you want the American Pit Bull Terrier over a Rottweiler and getting into the Rottweilers,
Oh, man. I liked them because they were smaller dogs, and they could do everything that those dogs could do and a little bit more. They had the ability and, just like athleticism,
That's true. That's true. I can't even deny that, man. Well, could you tell me a little bit about your first American Pit Bull Terrier and what he or she was like?
Let's see, the first one, well, The first dog, I guess it wasn't a real. It probably was mixed. Probably had a little bit of American Bulldog in it, but I had got her from a friend. But she was just mostly white dog. Looked a lot like what you the Scott American Bulldogs, but she probably had some pit in her too. But she's real smart and man, everything you'd want in a dog.
Man. Well, okay. So I was just thinking while you were saying that, so maybe we could go to the dog that you knew for a fact, maybe you had papers or you went to a breeder to get it. Let's go to that dog real quick.
Okay. Yeah, that would be around. That'd be in about 2000. I had after I'd had my share of non-paper dogs. I came across a guy. He ran a kennel called Backwoods Pits in Alabama, and I went and I bought a brother and a sister. They were heavy Norrod bred dogs, so they were 3/4 of the red double blood, and they were quarter of the Boudreaux's Beau's blood.
Nice.
And those are the first two I ever got, man. And after I got them, I started getting the Stratton books, and I started looking up, Iron Line Kennels and everything. And then I ended up emailing him and getting to talking to him, and became friends with him.
Norrod?
Yeah, Mike Norrod. Yeah. We got to be pretty good friends.
Okay.
I didn't like him at first. Yeah, I learned him, man. He kind of, you didn't know how to take him, you'd get mad at him pretty quick. But man, he was real smart, and he knew everything about these dogs, especially the old family red-nosed dogs.
Nice. Yeah, those old family reds, man. Some nice dogs, man. I like them. Let me well, could you tell us a little bit about those two dogs that you had got?
Yeah, like I said, they were both a red brindle color, red nose, of course, because they were, like I said, they were 3/4 of that Norrod, and then, like I said, a quarter of the Boudreaux's Beau, which is the old, the old Boudreaux blood, the buckskin red colored dogs. Man, good dogs, man. Just probably in the low 40s weight, real smart dogs. Became my buddies. Yeah, good dogs, real good dogs.
Nice, man. Nice. Well, so early on, I mean, you spoke about Mike, but early on, as you became into your dog, venture, I like to say, were there any guys that may have like inspired you or at first when you
Um,
got into it?
right, yeah. Besides, like the guy that ran Backwoods Pits, he was like one of my true mentors. He helped me out. He taught me a lot of the things that I know now about maintenance, yard maintenance and everything. And I learned a lot from Mike too. Trying to think, I had another good friend. He actually owned, if you're familiar with the Crenshaw's Otis.
Yes.
Yeah, he actually was the breeder of Otis. He bred a lot of different dogs, but I became acquainted with him over the years, and you know, he taught me a lot too. And I never actually met him, but I did talk to him before. But James Crenshaw, he was the man. Especially here in Georgia, he was the man. So he was kind of somebody that I definitely followed, and I guess you'd say kind of idolizing the dogs.
Man, hey, that would be a great man to definitely, man. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
I never got to meet him. I almost had a chance to buy a daughter of Blackjack, um, but I was still kind of young and didn't really have the money at the time. But man, I wished I could go back and grab that one.
Was there anything that you could think of that one of these guys may have said to you, when you were getting into the dogs that may have stuck with you to these days? I mean, I know you said maintenance stuff that they taught you, but is there something maybe you could remember that you're just like, you could share with my audience? You're like, hey, he told me this.
Man, I'm uh, trying to think of something. Hmm. You got me on that one. I'm trying to think back. I'm sure there were so many different things. But I can tell you, uh, after I became good friends with Mr. Floyd Boudreaux.
Yeah.
Now, he definitely shared some wise words. He told me, he always told me, you don't have to have a large yard. He said, it's quality over quantity. He said, there's no reason to have 100 dogs, and over half are garbage. He said, get you some good dogs and go from there.
Yes. That's wise words from my audience out there. I'm glad you said that one. That's a good one right there. Um, Off the wall real quick. Is there something, that my audience or people might not know about you outside of the dogs?
Ooh, man. What do they not know? I'm trying to think of that one, man. Uh,
I just ask because, people,
right.
they want to get to know the character.
Right. Yeah. Man, they probably do already know, but I'm a family man. I've got a close relationship with my girls. I believe in getting these kids involved in the shows. So most people they follow, they know I go to the shows, but maybe some of them don't. They just caught some of the other videos. But I love. I'm definitely love my kids, and love, spending family time with them. Like I said, I always tell people, man, get your kids involved in these shows. It's a, good confidence builder. I've got my oldest now, man. She's like a pro now, and man, it's built so much confidence in her, and really, up to her self esteem, and I think it's good. It's a good thing to get involved with.
Oh man, that was great. I mean, you know what? Getting your kids involved and being a family man, getting them involved with the dogs, that's something that, you know, when you're getting older, you might look around and see them with the dogs and be impressed by where they're at with them and
I
keeping
mean,
and that's
they're the
cool.
future of this breed.
Hey, I see Jeep back there, but do you have a favorite dog of all time? Like it can be anywhere in history.
Ooh, yeah, man. I always liked those Zebo.
Zebo.
Zebo was always probably one of my favorites, man. I mean, you just look at him and he just, just that look he had was something else. He's definitely probably one of my favorite dogs. And then if you come on up a little bit, man, probably Boudreaux's Maverick's probably one of my favorite dogs, just as far as a producer.
Maverick, yep, that's a good dog, man. Well, if you could own any American Pit Bull Terrier in history, it could be now, it could be maybe it's the dog that you got on your yard, maybe it's a dog that you never seen, but you just heard so much good stuff. What would that dog be?
Man, that's a good one too. Oh man, if I could go back, man, get a dog in the past, it would probably be Bullison.
Bullison. What? Why
Yeah,
would
now
you
female,
Bullison?
it would be Honey Bunch
Oh,
for a
honey.
female.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
those would be those two of my favorite ones.
you mind me asking why?
Oh man, just the producing wise, man. I mean, number one female producer, Honey Bunch, and Bullison.
You just-
Whether if the pedigree is right on Honey Bunch, he produced her.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a produ. Yeah, I like producing dogs. Good producing dogs.
Um, So outside of your yard, what's life like for you? Like what do you enjoy doing other than, being with your family? Like you got any hobbies that you get into other than the dogs? Don't hang up. sometimes this happens, but don't worry, it'll all be
Okay.
okay.
All right, good.
I was asking you outside of your yard and your dog life, and even just maybe family lives. Do you have any hobbies or anything that you get into?
Man, I don't have a lot of hobbies. Most of my time is spent, with my kids and with the dogs. Uh, it's just that's really the only family I got. I've got my daddy. You know, my mom passed away last year, last August. So yeah, it's just just spending time with the family. That's probably the number one thing outside of the dogs is just spend as much time with my kids and my dad as much as I can. So
Man,
yeah.
I respect that, man. I do. I do. Well, but how do you keep your balance between your dogs and your family life?
Man, that's a great question because I think sometimes that balance ain't met, but definitely you got to take care of your dogs. You got to do everything right. Make sure they're fed, make sure they got clean water, you pick up after them, give them exercise, do the things that they require. But you always got to put your family first. These dogs never come before your family.
Right. That is true. I saw on TikTok, I saw you were giving some advice and you were showing mosquito dunks and things like that. And those are things that I really look, forward to seeing from Dogman. Can you tell us a little bit how you keep, pests off your yard during the summer months?
Yeah, well, like you were talking about those mosquito dungs, I just learned about those last year, but once I set those out with it in the water, I mean, it was almost like they just disappeared. So basically, what it is like it's almost like a bacteria, like a probiotic, so to speak, that they lay the eggs and it kills them. It kills. I don't think it's supposed to. They don't advertise it's killing the adults, but I do notice a lot of dead ones in there. So I do that. Usually around springtime, I salt the ground. I just buy the big old bags of pool salt and I spread it around inside their kennels and I hose it down. May take a few times to hose it down because that pool salt's real coarse. But what it'll do is it'll kill the flea larva and worm larva.
Okay.
I actually picked that up from James Crenshaw. That's something he used to do. Um, and then I use for my worming, I use diatomaceous earth.
Right, right. I saw
I've
that you use diatomaceous earth for your deworming. Could you explain that process for some of my listeners out there who,
Yeah, it's basically like a sea organism. It's like the fossil of it, and they mine it, and it's almost like ground up, almost like flour. You got to buy the food grade, but basically their skeleton is like a silica gel. The silica that little packets that comes inside the food sometimes. So
yeah,
it's basically like that. And what it does is when a flea or a worm gets it, it's almost like a shard of glass sticking into it, and it dehydrates them.
okay.
So I just mix it in with their feed, and like I said, I've been using that over 20 years, and I never have any intestinal worms.
How much would you say to put in their feed?
Usually start out like a teaspoon, and you could work yourself up to maybe a tablespoon, but it don't. Um, I get kind of lazy sometimes, and I just mix it in with their food, and I don't have any problem. But if you want to break it down and be more specific, yeah, start out like a teaspoon.
Okay. Kind
Yeah,
of
that'll
kind of
be
work them into it a little bit. And,
right. Yeah, so I do that for my intestinal worms, and of course, monthly, I treat them with ivermectin for heartworm prevention.
and just so my audience knows, we're not veterinarians. This is just what works for him. And if you want to try it, hey, I'll just say for our benefit, ask your veterinarian first.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Any questions? Always, yeah. Run it by your vet.
Um, so like I said, I saw you were talking about Floyd earlier, and I saw you in quite a few pictures with him. and I was like, wow, he's getting quite a few of them. I was going to ask about maybe your relationship with Floyd and how well do
Yeah.
you know him?
Probably I met him at a show back in around 2017. We went down to Mississippi and I met him, and I told my daughter, I said, I'm gonna get a dog from him one day. So in 2018, I finally went down there and I got my first dog and everything. And then I'd see him at different shows and I'd always talk to him. And one thing he always, no matter what, he always remembered my daughter. He might have forgot my name a few times, but he always remembered my daughter. So yeah, we got to be pretty good friends. I'm actually like really, really close with his nephew. But I went down there back in February, and I spent almost a whole day Sunday with him.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a great man. I mean, outside of the dogs, you couldn't find a nicer guy.
I was also going to ask, have you ever owned or purchased a dog from Bobby Hall?
Yeah, actually, the Norma Jean dog that I got, yeah, she came from Bobby. I bought one from Bobby back in the early 2000s too. I never got to meet Bobby, but I did talk to him on the phone a couple times. He was always, him and Floyd were probably two guys that I really looked up to. Floyd as a breeder and Bobby as a conditioner.
Well,
but yeah,
I know you said Bullison.
Right.
What stood out to you with Bobby Hall's dogs? What stood out about those dogs to you?
Oh man, they got a little bit of an attitude. They'll put a little fire in your dogs. So that's one thing I liked. I ended up getting this female. I got her actually used as an outcross for my Boudreaux dogs. But man, I started liking it so much. It's more of just an outcross now. I recently just purchased a pure Hall male.
Nice.
That I'm on my program. So yeah, it's become actually one of my favorites. Which a lot of Bobby's stuff goes back to Floyd. It goes back to Floyd dogs, but you got a little bit of the Maloney blood in there, and some Carver stuff coming through Boomerang and other Carver dogs in there as well.
Yes. Okay, man. Yeah, I like. Hey, they are some good dogs, man. Like you said, they be fired up, man. They be fired up, and I like that attitude too. Like I know some people don't think that that's what some people want. They want to just calm dog. We want a dog that gets fired up and ready to go to the show.
Yeah.
When they go to the shows and they get out there
but yeah, got a little bit of a mean streak. That's okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. I love it, man. Well, here's the part of the show that we call Quickfire questions. It's where I just ask you like one or the other of something, and you can either say, either one or both. Okay. All right. So, treadmill or carpet mill?
Treadmill.
All right. You care to share why you like the treadmill over the carpet mill more so?
Yeah. That carpet mill, I mean, I never used it myself, but you got to be careful with it. It can be a little bit rough on the dog's body.
You're right.
You can't use it very long at all.
But the treadmill, you like the endurance, huh?
Oh yeah, slap mill. Yeah, a good slap mill is awesome. I mean, it's one of the best things you can use.
I should say slap mill.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got just a regular treadmill that I use sometimes, for the shows, racing shows too.
Okay. Let's say collar or harness.
Collar. I'm all. Yeah.
Like collar. All right.
Yeah.
Yep. How about mouth or game?
Oh man. Well, I got to go with game.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Almost
that's a plus.
hard to pick between those sometimes.
Yeah, I guess you know the name of it. You know, American Pit Bull Terrier. I guess you got to go with gameness, but you know, you got both.
I dig it. I dig it.
Historic.
Let's go. Kibble or raw?
Man, I tell you, I say kibble for the convenience factor. If I had, which I don't have a lot of dogs, but if I only had one or two, I would be raw.
Okay.
Right. But convenience wise, you know, I'd say kibble.
Okay. All right. Chain setup or kennel run?
Man, I'd take a good quality chain setup all day. All of mine are in kennels because we have appointments. But if I could use a chain setup, I would. I think the dogs like it better.
Can you explain that? Because I think sometimes, you know, especially from my audience, that some people like, why would you put that dog on a chain? But maybe you can explain that there's you know, in a good way why, you know, the chain is good for the dog.
Yeah, if you take I mean, I know people that've got their dogs on a 20-foot chain. If you think about putting a dog on a 15 or a 20-foot chain versus a 10 by 10 kennel, if you were to take that same chain and stake it up in the middle of that kennel, you would see that dog has so much more room being on that chain than they do in the kennel. Plus, I think when they're in the kennel, I think it's the same thing that maybe happens to a person inside of a jail cell, that confinement feeling. Now mine, I guess they get used to it because I have them in there as puppies. But I have gotten some adult dogs that maybe were used to being on the chain and they didn't like being in the kennel. So that chain, for the most part, is always going to be the number one choice.
All right. Tug of war or fetch?
Man, I've not really done either one of them, but I'm gonna say probably fetch. Okay. Yeah, I think it might, you know, be a little bit better as far as actually in, you know, building some endurance.
Yes.
That fast muscle. Yeah, I think it'd be better.
Okay. How about road work or hiking?
Man. Well, I do mostly road work with my dogs. Oh man, but if you had a dog, you're talking about hiking with like off a leash. Yeah, man, if you could do that, that'd be awesome. I mean, that would be something different right there. I do mostly road work. I'm not too confident to let my dogs run loose. So, but if you got one that'll stay right there, that'd be pretty cool right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, Arrowhead, what type of legacy do you and Arrowhead Kennels hope to leave on the APBT community?
And I just, you know, I want to showcase the dog, and I want to be known, you know, keeping these dogs in a positive light. You know, they've got such a negative stigma with them. Either for being, you know, vicious or you know, whatever. But I want to, you know, show that I want to produce good dogs, athletic dogs. That's all I'm interested in these days, producing, you know, quality athletic dogs, good conformation, but also doing it, you know, keeping it in a good positive light. You know, like I said, I'm into the shows, and these dogs need an outlet. So that's kind of, you know, want to be a promoter of the shows. But also, like I said, promote, you know, producing good quality animals. Right. They represent the American Pit Bull Terrier.
Yes. I thank you for saying that on my show, because, you know, with the negative view that people try to paint on these dogs, that people should know that there's guys like you that are out there, you know, trying to bring a positive light on the dogs and taking them to the shows, conformations, and keeping them athletic and healthy. And that's just a big part of being a breeder, and a lot of people don't know that. And I'm glad that you said that because I want my people who are watching this to know that there's guys out there who really love these dogs and they just want to see them be just like everybody with their dogs, but want to see this breed specifically last a long time and keep doing what they do. And look, like I was talking, I talked about this with some of the other people. Look how many things that the American Pit Bull Terrier didn't do back in the days that now they're excelling in.
That's right.
Water jumps that where they're jumping. I mean, I'm sure you've seen what's that show, Top Dog?
Right, right.
I mean, I'm just like the American Pit Bull Terrier is just starting to just climb the ranks. People are using them for police work, all types of stuff nowadays. So it's like it's almost endless for these dogs. But people just need to know that. You guys need to know that, and that's why I love having guys like you on the show to tell them about that.
100%.
Can you give us one big myth about the American Pit Bull Terrier that is out there that maybe you could clear up for my audience?
Oh man, I always thought this when I was getting into them. They had locked jaws. That was the whole thing. They got locked jaws. They have powerful jaws, but there's no locking mechanism. I still hear it today when I tell people I breed pit bulls. They're like, "Oh man, you better be careful. They got locked jaws." Right.
So for the audience out there, if you get what he's saying, there isn't, and I've heard people say it too, the American Pit Bull Terrier does not have a lockjaw. It's just something in their mind that says, "Hey, I want to hold on to this because they want to win." They're very competitive dogs. So that's all it is. They just don't
That's
want to
right.
let go.
That's right. Hold on. Yep. That's it.
So be easy on their mouths because they can lose teeth and everything else too.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly.
Um, for okay, so Arrowhead for any person that's just new to the breed or wants to get an American Pit Bull Terrier, what's a little bit of advice you would give them?
Oh man. I definitely say research who you're getting your dog from. I'm a big proponent on that. When you first get into the dogs, you definitely. I mean, these dogs aren't vicious, but they can bite. Anything with a mouth could bite. So I always say, see who you're getting them from. Find out a little bit about the parents if you can. Some people aren't willing to talk a lot, but do that. Make sure that your situation allows you to take care of these dogs like they need to be taken care of.
Right, right.
Right.
Thank you, thank you. Um, so you breed dogs. If any of my listeners out there, especially somebody who's new or, just, you know, anybody who wants to purchase a dog from you, how can they go about contacting you?
Oh man, they can hit us up on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube,
Okay.
and they can get with me, whatever. Always anybody that purchases a pup, they have to sign a buyer's agreement, stating that they're going to take care of the dog and won't be used for anything illegal. But yeah, but other than that, yeah, they can get at me and see if I got anything available.
Okay. Well, on this show, where they say like give flowers, we call it give a dog a bone. And I just want to give you your props, Arrowhead, for everything that you do for the breed and just being the guy that you are, man, who just loves these dogs, man. And I thank you, man. I thank you for um, doing all that you do, man. I see you at all the shows. I see you winning these trophies and these awards, man, and just taking care of these dogs like they're part of the family, man. And that's a amazing thing, man. So I just want to thank you for that, man. And thank you for
Appreciate
coming on Beer and Bulldogs and
you
giving me
having
your
me, man.
time.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a fan, man. I like what you're doing, man. So
Well,
definitely keep up the good work.
I will, man. I will, man. And thank you for being on this show again, man. And well, Arrowhead, I don't really have a outro for this show. I just kind of tell people from Beer and Bulldogs, till next time.
That'll work, man.
All right, y'all. Cheers.